Did you know over 500,000 people suddenly became living statues? Or that a plague in France left everyone mysteriously dancing for days? Well, these are just some of the biggest unsolved mysteries we'll be exploring in today's video, which continues to baffle everyone to date. Mary Celeste is probably the most baffling ghost ship case ever. In November 1872, Captain Briggs set sail from New York with his wife, daughter, and 7 crew members. They had enough supplies for 6 whole months. But on December 5th, 1872, a ship found the Mary Celeste drifting alone, with literally everything still nicely on board except their lifeboats. The log said nothing was wrong, and not even a single stuff from the ship was harmed, but they were simply gone. So, where'd they go? Theories ranged from mutiny to pirate raids to even giant octopus attacks. But the weirdest is that fumes from alcohol on board caused an explosion that almost blew up the ship. But is there a way to believe that a fire broke out but nothing got burned? Nope. So chances are, Captain Briggs must have been like, let's abandon the ship right now and leave people wondering where we ended up. Do you think zombies are scary? Well, check out the real-life living statues from the early 1900s. Over 500,000 people were frozen in place, totally conscious but unable to move a muscle. Doctors called it encephalitis lethargica, aka the sleeping sickness, but it was nothing like your average sleepiness. Victims were stuck like mannequins for hours, days, even years at a time. Can you imagine? They could see and hear everything, but their bodies just wouldn't respond. The disease first appeared in Europe and quickly spread worldwide, reaching epidemic levels in North America, Europe, and India. Scientists think it may have been caused by a mutated sore throat bacterium that triggered the immune system to go rogue and attack people's brains. Yet, we still don't know why it started, lasted a decade, and then mostly ended. But some random cases popped up later, like a Chinese girl frozen for 5 weeks in 2014. So, is it gone for good, or just lying in wait? Area 51 is the most top-secret military base in America, and probably the world. Located in the Nevada desert, the US government denied its existence until 2005 when they were like, oops, yeah, it's there. Satellites can see the buildings, but we have no clue what really goes down inside. Even people with high-level security clearance get transported on a mysterious airline called Janet that doesn't show flight paths or let you see out the windows. Naturally, all this secrecy fueled massive UFO and alien conspiracies. People think the base holds crashed UFOs and aliens the government is experimenting on. Or maybe they're working on crazy projects like time travel, teleportation, weather control machines, or who knows what. Some even say the base is where world leaders meet with aliens each week. We may never know the truth, but one thing's for sure. People will believe all kinds of wacky theories about the most classified military facility in the world. Do you think decoding ancient languages is hard? Try solving the Voynich manuscript. This 250-page book is written in a totally made-up language no one has ever cracked. It's filled with weird illustrations of plants that don't even match anything on Earth. Experts have been studying it for over 600 years with no luck. The book's earliest known owner was some alchemist named Georg Beresch in the 1600s who was like, I can't read this garbage taking up space on my shelf, but he had no clue where it even came from. Some say a guy named Voynich totally fabricated it as a prank hundreds of years later, but carbon dating shows it's from the 1400s, way before that was possible. So what the heck is this manuscript? And who wrote it? Can you imagine a plague where the symptom is uncontrollable dancing? Well, in 1518, over 400 people in Strasbourg got hit with the mysterious dancing plague. It started with some lady named Mrs. Trophea suddenly busting a move in the town square. Within days, 34 more people joined in on the impromptu dance party from hell. The problem is, they just couldn't stop. As the weeks went on, 15 people died each day from exhaustion or heart attacks. Doctors thought it was from hot blood and tried to sweat it out by building a dance stage. Unsurprisingly, that didn't work at all. Today, scientists think a toxic mushroom may have been involved, but over 500 years later, we still have no clue what caused the weird dancing or how it just randomly vanished one day. Talk about leaving us all dancing with more questions. Every year, in Tiwi Islands, a small island chain off the coast of Australia, the locals witness something absolutely weird and surreal in the sky. From September all the way through March, like clockwork, this gigantic thundercloud would appear each afternoon, and it's so massive that you can see it from miles away. Back in World War II, a pilot flying nearby spotted it and started calling it Hector the Convector, and the name stuck. Now, obviously, clouds forming isn't too unusual, but meteorologists have been studying this thing for decades and still have no idea why it only happens around these islands. They've checked the weather, wind patterns, ocean currents, and all, but it's there somehow, every year at the same time. Some people think it's linked to how hot the landscape gets and how the breeze interacts with it, but if that's the case, then why is it always in the exact same spot? Strange, right? The assassination of John F. Kennedy in 1963 is probably the biggest conspiracy ever. See, Lee Harvey Harvey Oswald was arrested for shooting the president in Dallas. But just 2 days later, nightclub owner Jack Ruby gunned down Oswald before he could even stand trial. The official story is that Oswald acted alone, and Ruby killed him so Jackie Kennedy wouldn't have to face Oswald in court. But many conspiracy theorists say there had to be more than one shooter, and that's rightfully so. After all, the way the bullet hit both Kennedy and Texas Governor Connolly, who was sitting in front of him, it had to swerve mid-air, which is impossible. Besides, what was the purpose of burning the original autopsy report? That's why some think the mafia, or even the government, were involved in taking out JFK. Over 50 years later, new evidence is super unlikely to surface. So we'll probably never 100% know exactly who killed JFK and how many people were behind it. In 1976, the quiet town of Circleville, Ohio, started getting really freaking weird letters in the mail. And by weird, I mean super invasive personal letters calling out folks in town by name. The letters accused the school bus driver Mary of having an affair with the superintendent. Then Mary's husband Ron started getting threats, saying he'd die if he didn't end it. Crazy, right? Well, not long after, Ron dies in a very suspicious one-car crash involving gunshots. When the sheriff ruled it an accident, the anonymous letter writer blasted him for a cover-up. This went on for years with no end in sight. They even framed Ron's sister's husband, Paul Freshour, who got locked up and convicted of writing the letters and attempting to murder Mary. But the letters kept coming. Paul even received one himself. Even after he got out in 1994, he maintained his innocence until dying in 2012. To this day, no one knows who the original Circleville letter writer was. Was it Paul getting revenge from behind bars? Or was Mary the mastermind behind it all to off her husband? This case in small-town Ohio remains a total mind-bender. In 1587, a group of settlers from England tried starting a colony on Roanoke Island, off North Carolina. But when their supply boat returned 3 years later, the whole village was mysteriously abandoned. The crazy part, everything was left perfectly tidy. The houses, they were taken apart nicely. There was not a trace of the 100 missing colonists anywhere. The only clue was the word Croatoan carved into a post. Apparently, that was some friendly Native American tribe's name. Many think those guys got wiped out by the rival Powhatan tribe. But no, historians say that story doesn't add up to archaeological evidence. More likely theories are that the colonists joined forces with the Croatoans or another local group. Yet, the scientists haven't found any descendant DNA to confirm that either. That's why, over 400 years later, the fate of the lost Roanoke colony remains the oldest unsolved mystery in American history. Can you imagine a massive blast flattening over 500 square miles of forest with literally zero evidence left behind? Well, that's what went down in Siberia in 1908, known as the Tunguska event. Scientists think a huge meteor probably exploded mid-air over Tunguska, blasting every tree for miles around. No one witnessed it because it was super remote. But the crazy thing is no impact crater was ever found either. That's super weird, right? Over a century later, we're still guessing what happened that morning. The best theory is a meteor blew up before hitting the ground. But how? Over a century later, it's still classified as the largest blast ever recorded. But what really came crashing down out of the sky that day remains a total mystery. So let us know in the comments which of these unsolved mysteries shocked you the most. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. Also, press the bell icon for instant notifications so that you never miss a video from Factastic Trivia.